Hello, everyone. This is Dana from DefDevice, and today I have I used to say very special guest, but this is a very special guest for sure. This is Mr. Ethan, co-founder of STM Brands. Welcome, Ethan.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very excited to have
Good.
you here on the call. I mean, we
Thank
have
you.
met a few years ago, and we have done some things together, which is a different story. But today, this is all about you and about this amazing brand that you have built, which is called STM. And let us know what is
Sure.
STM? What you
We
guys do there?
we do a range of tech accessories, anywhere from bags through to cases, through to adapters and power. Basically, supplying anywhere from Mac stores and Microsoft and companies like Lenovo and Asus and Acer around the world. So we sell and we do everything but the manufacturing, all the design, all the product development, all the iteration, and then sell our wares around the world.
Hmm. And you do the branding as well, which
Do
is
the
pretty
branding,
smart.
marketing, yeah, all the branding, all the marketing. So everything is really ours. We outsource the manufacturing, but most
Mhm.
of the manufacturing, some of it is done in house, but primarily um, we do everything from A to Z. Work very closely with some of the biggest companies in the world. Do a lot of work with education and larger corporates as well. And then you can also find our stuff in places like the Apple stores worldwide, places in Australia like JB Hi-Fi, in the US Best Buy, Target, Sam's Club, places like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I went to an Apple store here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I found STM products in there. So you
Yep.
guys are like present in all the Apple stores, which I think is
We
quite
are.
something. Yeah. So
We are.
not so many brands have made it to the Apple store, man.
No, we've been dealing with the Apple store with Apple and the Apple stores before they had Apple stores. So that's how long we've been doing
Oh,
this. So we've been in business since 1999, since November of
oh,
'99. So almost 25 years coming up. And so we were dealing with Apple before there were Apple stores. So just to get a time frame
oh,
for the whole thing.
holy cow. So this is not like a fresh startup. This is like a really established global business. And tell us what
That
STM stands for.
there's a backstory, but it stands for Standard Technical Merchandise. There is another story that I can't share online because my business partner will get me in a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah. Also,
Yes,
the other version is not
the other
publicly
version the
available.
other version
Oh,
is a X-rated version
oh,
of
I was about to mention that one, so I'm glad I kept
oh,
my mouth shut.
you can mention that one. You can mention that one as long as it's not
Okay,
me mentioning it.
okay. So I
Yeah.
will just say it out loud. Okay, so
Sure,
it's
absolutely.
so the way I know it is smarter than most. Yeah,
Yes, that's
STM stands.
correct.
Yeah, but Ethan is not allowed to say that. So yeah. So if anything you're not allowed to say, you just tell me. I will.
Okay, you can say it. Yes. Yes.
Cool, man. Yeah, so it is an amazing brand. You have really high quality products. I mean, I
Thank
did
you.
get, to experience some of them. You have wireless chargers. You have some of the greatest backpacks, with all these different compartments, which, I mean, this is
Yeah,
really like high-end gear to protect mobile devices, and it's
correct.
not just, and the part I love about you guys is that this is not about being cheap. This is about having
Quality.
doing something. Yeah, this is about quality, design, being passionate, and yes, the price is above the cheapest, but this is not about being cheap. This is
Yeah.
about delivering an extraordinary product.
Right. Well, it's always been about putting the user and your how you use your device and your technical day, how you go around using the technology during the day at the center of everything that we do. We try and add usability and functionality to the device or to your digital day. And then
Hmm.
we've always been about that. So that ethos has really carried us through our 25 years. I mean, even in our backpacks in terms of organization and protection. And you sort of have to cast your mind back that far. There weren't iPads, there weren't phones. Laptops were between $4,000 and $6,000. There was no
Hmm.
backup. I mean, you have to remember
Yeah.
there's the only backup were 5-inch floppy disks and zip drives. So there's no backup. So it wasn't only how expensive the device was, but all the data, you had nowhere else to put it. Everything that you
Yeah.
had was literally on that device.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it started really about protecting that device, both from prying eyes and from drops and knocks that you have during your digital day, and then the organization of all the cables. And then as the industry evolved, and we've added iPads and phones and the numerous
Wireless
cameras and
charging.
wireless charging, and so we've evolved
Hmm.
as things go on, and it is going on. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah. But I later would love to ask you about your perspective on what is coming our way and where STM is heading.
Cool.
But before
Absolutely.
we go into the future, let's zoom back into the past and let's meet 10-year-old Ethan. Let's see what 10-year-old Ethan was about.
So again, I currently live in Australia. At that time, I lived in the US. So I was born in Colorado. So I was born in Denver, Colorado. And I was living in Colorado. And at 10, I was about to go live with my grandparents.
Oh.
So I used to go to Israel to visit my grandparents once every summer. And then one summer, and I was 10, I asked to stay. Oh. So I was literally at 10, that was the first year that I basically left home and went to go live with my grandparents in a different country.
That is freaking early, man. You left home age 10 because of you chose to, not because you were told to, because you chose to.
I chose to.
Wow. Yeah. So your family comes from Israel? Is that why your grandparents were there?
No, my grandparents moved there at a mature age. But no, I have no really other family connections besides that. So they used to go, like I said, go visit, loved it, loved the kids, loved just the different experience, and just asked to stay for a year. And that year lasted till I moved to Australia in my mid-20s.
Oh my God. I've never heard a 10-year-old decide to go live with their grandparents. I mean, unless the parents would pass away, but that wasn't the case.
No, that was not the case.
You made that decision.
Yeah.
That is a very bold decision.
Yeah.
And also very surprising how your parents actually allowed this to happen. So they agreed. They let you just go and stay there.
Yeah. Well, and again, as a parent now, you realize how significant of a sacrifice that is, not only for the parents in terms of how much they'd have to love you in order to let you go. And you sort of only appreciate that as you become a parent. And so I have two boys, and I don't think that I could do that. I don't think that I could, just go. Yeah. I don't know.
But that is something really unusual. And then, so you spent your teenage time in Israel.
Exactly. So I spent a teenage time growing up on a kibbutz, on basically a communal farm in Israel, growing fish.
What?
Yeah.
Did you learn the language?
Of course, absolutely. I did all of high school there. So again, before I moved, I didn't know any Hebrew. Of course, as you grow up, you have to. So did all my schooling, all of high school, all exams. So yeah. So it was a good lesson in resilience, a good lesson in about being able to self-motivated and just being able to rely on yourself and trust yourself to get through. And I think that those are, again, when you initially had this discussion, you said, take me back to 10-year-old Ethan. I said, okay, this is going to be an interesting conversation because most people don't know about 10-year-old Ethan. It's just not something that normally comes up in conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is why I love to ask this question, because it's most of the time it's so amazing to hear all this, like what was happening like at this age, and sometimes as we can see now, like your fundamentals as an entrepreneur were already kind of growing at that time, at that age. So you already became, you were already an entrepreneur, because to make this kind of decision, it really takes some guts, and some
self-reliance and some understanding that you can figure out how. And again, I think that's one of the things that I've always turned back to, because again, with anything, with life, it goes up and down, it goes in cycles. But going back to, listen, I know that I can get through this because I've done it before. I trust myself enough to continue to get through this. So that's something that is, again, only later in life do you sort of recognize these patterns. But I did the same thing, I guess, in essence, in my mid-20s when I moved to Australia. Picked up everything and sort of left with really nothing to go start again.
And
It's sort of a pattern.
Yeah, you did it again. So
did it
what was the
again.
reason this time?
This time was I met my ex-wife.
Oh.
Okay. So I followed a girl, which again, better or for worse. Yeah. So that landed me here, which I can't complain. Australia's awesome.
That's I was assuming that you were like from Australia, but boy, I was wrong 2 times. You were born in the US, then you grew up in Israel, and then you moved to Australia.
Correct.
In your 20s already. So at that time you were already kind of in business of
not
doing
at all.
what you're doing, or no?
No, not at all.
What was...
So I came here and worked just as a laborer in a warehouse. Just in a fashion warehouse where I happened to meet my Adina Jacobs, my business partner. So we met there, and basically was there and going to school at the same time. So I was going to university at the same time. Bought a laptop, and that's when the germination of STM came, because I was either walking or riding a bike, or I didn't know, cars just weren't practical. And there really wasn't a really neat way to carry a laptop except in those black briefcases that we're all familiar with. So I ended up getting a bubble wrap sleeve from the post office, throwing the laptop in there, and then throwing in a backpack with my lunch and my books and my thermos and whatever else I wanted to take. And that was sort of the germination of there had to be something better, but there really wasn't. And that's sort of where it all started. That's where it all started.
But going from like a paper bag and the idea to having an empire, what STM is today, holy cow! I mean, how did that happen? I mean, a lot of people have ideas, and sometimes I make fun of them because when you talk to friends and they say, "Well, I have this idea, but I'm not going to share with you because it's such a great idea," and I just keep laughing to myself because how many people have ideas,
great ideas.
It takes. Yeah, fantastic ideas. But how much it takes to make an idea to come to reality, and how small the percentage of people is who actually does that. And so you're saying, like you are stingy with your idea because you think I would be the one out of 1 million who would take your idea and turn it into a business.
Yeah. It's a weird sort of paradigm, and I think it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think half the time that has to do with them not wanting to do it themselves, so they don't want to put themselves out there. So I think it often has to do more with them than with you. But
you are the 1 in 1 million case who took this idea, like this very, simple but great idea, but you turned this idea into a business, into a real substantial business. So how did that happen?
Well, I think that first of all, it's not just one person. I think that's again.
Oh yeah.
It's a group of people, whether it's my business partner, whether it's people that helped us along the way, whether it's an accountant that gave us advice. There's a whole group of people that helped us get to this stage. So again, taking the idea and finding someone, in this case had to be my business partner, with the skill sets to take the concept and make some modifications and turn it into an actual product, to a manufacturing partner that was willing to make. You'll laugh at this because we made 5 colors, 50 units of each. That was our first production run.
And who designed this whole thing? Did you sit down and do the design?
We took a backpack and made some modifications to it, and just wanted to keep it really simple. But we did most of the design.
The mock-up came from you, like handmade kind of thing.
More or less handmade, but more drawings and stuff like that. Very simple. Adina, my business partner, has a lot more skill and a lot more patience than I do. But again, if you look at manufacturing, making 50 units of a color just doesn't happen across. That's just not something that's done. And so we did that, and again, you have to cast your mind back. The colors that we did almost matched perfectly to the first iBook that came out. Remember the one that was a clam shape or a toilet sheet shape with the colors? The colors matched almost perfectly except for the orange.
Oh,
and so that's how we found our way into the Mac stores or the Mac resellers, because the bags, the bag colors matched more or less the laptop colors.
So you, with your first batch of products, you already opened the door to the app, to Apple, or to the
Apple
reseller.
Resellers. Yeah, Apple resellers.
Apple resellers at that time.
Correct. Yeah, there weren't Apple stores per se didn't exist. They were primarily education.
Yeah.
So yes, the Apple resellers, we found that
in Australia.
In Australia specifically, yeah.
And your manufacturer was also in Australia, or was it somewhere else?
China. Manufacturing,
China.
It was in China. So
even back in the days, China was the place to go to make those bags. Wow.
Correct.
Okay, amazing.
And now our production crosses three countries. So we do manufacturing in India, China, and Vietnam. So it's spread.
Fantastic. So this was this like a straightaway success? I mean, you did your first 50 units colored, and then boom, and people started buying.
No, we got it took us quite a while to sell those 50 units. We got lucky a little bit where we had a ISP, internet reseller. Like they sell again, they used to sell modems that wanted 700 units, and so that was a lot. That was a lot, and then we had almost right after that, we had Compaq. Again, Compaq computers, they don't exist anymore. They merged with HP. It's a long time ago.
Oh man, I remember Compaq.
They wanted 5,000 units, which was a lot.
There you go.
Which was a crazy number, and we didn't have the money for that. I mean, so I had to loan some money from my parents to actually make that happen. So again, a lot of people allowed us to, or helped us along the way to get to where we are. And again, having a team around you and that really makes a big difference. I mean, co-founders I was one of the first. It doesn't mean that you do it by yourself. You have to have other people help you. It doesn't work any other way.
Wow, that is a very remarkable statement there. Yeah. So to kind of already take a note here, one of the recipes for success for you was the partnership part, where you were working with the right people, because like being alone, it would have been much more difficult, or wouldn't have happened at all, right?
Correct. Well, you need to be persistent. Yeah, that and persistence. I mean, like we still say to this day, I prefer a long yes than a short no. So we're pretty persistent in terms of how we operate. Where we really, I mean, no is no, but you try not to get to that stage where it's a finite answer. And if it is, can we call you back in 3 months and check it in? And so that's always served us well. And having people that are part of that culture and enjoy what they do and are passionate and get to make decisions and aren't micromanaged is great. Is really good. So we have a really good team around the world, really, but Australia, all throughout Asia, the US, Europe. It's great. It's a lot of fun most of the time.
And it just grew organically like that.
It did grow organically. Absolutely. We've never really had any external investment. It's all been in us funding. And again, I think that also has served us well, meaning that we don't overextend ourselves or do things that, I mean, not that we don't make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but no mistakes have been financial catastrophes, because we're pretty conservative and cautious, because listen, it's my money, right? We're not playing with someone else's. We're playing with my money. So it makes some of those decisions a little more conservative. With saying that, we're pretty quick to make decisions. We don't dwell on them. We're a firm believer that execution is 80% of the decision. If you execute you're much better off with good execution than really, really good decisions. So execution is paramount. And so that's really what we focus on, is good execution, and give people that we work with the tools to make good decisions. I don't want to make all the decisions. So it's been a ride.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Did you face challenges? What were the biggest challenges along the way?
All the time. I mean, challenges are ongoing. We
Yeah.
like so we started in 1999.
Hmm.
A lot of our work was within the travel industry, people traveling because they needed notebooks. September 11 happened, no travel
Mm.
industry. And again, you have to cast your mind. Travel stopped overnight. People
Hmm.
just didn't want to get on a plane. And that was a huge part of what we did. A lot of the
Mm.
stores that we dealt with went out of business. So again, there's cash flow issues.
Hmm.
So all these external crises that happened along the way have
Hmm.
always provided challenges. But again, those are things that to a degree are outside your control.
Hmm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
control how you react, but you don't control
Mm.
you don't control the situation itself. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the bird flu, financial crisis in 2008, and the list goes on. I mean, but it's a lot of those external challenges.
Hmm.
Um,
Obviously, COVID
COVID,
maybe had. Mm.
yeah, COVID had a big impact.
Mm. Mm.
Chip set shortages over the last year and a bit. That also has a
Hmm.
big impact.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
these are things that you can't control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you try not to worry about them too much. You worry about the things that you
Mm.
can control. Focus on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
things that you can do something about. If you
Hmm.
can't do anything about it, why worry about
Exactly. Again.
it? So
Yeah, to me, it's exactly how it is. Yeah, so we
yeah,
we need to focus on what we can control and just
exactly.
and there's still enough left, right, in that bucket of things.
There's plenty left. So if you look at something like COVID or something like chipsets that you have no control over, you focus on the
Mhm,
things that you can. You focus on your
mhm,
inventory, you focus on your expenses, you focus on timelines,
mhm,
you focus on finding new customers, you focus on customer support. You divert your focus from the chipset thing that you have no control over, can't do anything about that, to things that you
mhm,
can control. And
mhm,
with
mhm,
being self-funded and all that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about banks or VCs or anyone else on sort of breathing down your neck, and you just
mhm,
worry about the things that you can control.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I think that to some degree is one of those lessons that you keep going back to when I was a kid. Those you
mhm,
worry about the things that you can control. Worrying about the things you
mhm,
can't control is a
mhm.
waste.
Yeah, yeah. And you have controlled them quite nicely, as I can tell.
Thank you.
The ones that
Thank
you
you.
can control have brought you to the place where you are
They
today.
have.
So
They
that
have,
is,
absolutely.
yeah. And so
Yeah. Yeah, they have.
we should take example in this way of taking control. So if somebody would start like an entrepreneur business today, what would be your advice? What would be the most important thing to look at?
I think the first couple of years, the first thing to do is look at money. It all comes down to dollars and cents. You want to make sure that you have enough money to pay your suppliers, pay your employees. Uh, if you can solve that, if you can get over that hump, I'm not saying the rest solves itself, because it doesn't, but you can get over everything else, because the people that work for you will work with your stakeholders are content to stay. The second that you
Mhm,
start getting behind and start not having those you have cash flow issues or cash issues, everything else becomes greater than what it actually is. Um, I
mhm,
think I think there's some basic things that you have to have, with good product, good customer service. Um, those things sort of, if you don't have those, it makes it really, really hard. But following
mhm,
that for the first couple of years, you just need the cash flow to sustain your business.
mhm. And how would you vet an idea? Let's if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, look, I want to do this or I want to do that," and
We do it
how?
all the time. We do it all the
Yeah, yeah.
time. And we have, when we
Okay.
come out with a new product, that's
Mm.
essentially a new idea. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
MagSafe stuff, charging stuff. We always start on the back of a napkin. Like, if I write down, okay, listen, how much based on my experience will this cost to make? How much can I sell it for? How long does it take to do? And if you can work out the math on the back of a napkin, then you go to the next stage. If you can't even work out the math of the success on the back of a napkin, it's very unlikely that as you dive deeper,
Mhm,
it will work itself out. So
mhm, mhm.
that's really the first vet is a financial vet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very surprising. So it's really about the cash flow. It's about like making things work financially in the first
Correct.
place, and everything comes after that.
Correct.
Well, yeah,
Now,
that's.
there's some instances where there's things that you do for strategic reasons. One of the classic example would be color. Like, 80% of bags that sell, for example, are black. However, you need color in order to attract them to black. So you still buy the color, even though it's a 5-to-1 or 6-to-1 ratio. You need the color for them to buy black. And we do make decisions for new product or for strategic reasons where we think this is where the market is going. This is where we think is something is going to happen, or we need this to fill this gap for a large customer. We'll make those decisions as well. But we know ahead of time that it might, long run, it'll be a good financial decision. Short run, it might be a little bit more difficult.
And your product ideas come from, is that by just observing the market, observing what new products are out there, observing your competition, I guess? Do you spend time looking at your competition?
I don't spend that much time looking at my competition. At the beginning, we did quite a bit. And not that it's not significant. I think that understanding what your competition is doing is really important. I find that I focusing on what we do well, and our strengths works out better for us, as opposed to copying is the wrong word. Gaining ideas from what other people do. And,
of course, inspiration.
We don't copy what other people do. Again, has it happened? I'm sure it happens, but we don't deliberately go out and copy what someone else has done. We have derived and will derive inspiration and try and make improvements on what other people do. But that's sort of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But most of our ideas are internally generated. Like I said, we have everyone's a tech user, whether you're just using a phone or headphones, or everyone uses some type of technology, and they're all trying and endeavoring to make their life easier, make their tech day easier, organizing their day better. And so that's where a lot of the inspiration comes from. And then when you have new technologies out, like MagSafe or wireless charging, or we're talking about virtual reality and all that kind of stuff, we try and incorporate those type of ideas into what we do moving forward.
Oh, so even VR is part of, is kind of on stage. So
100%.
How will you implement VR into your product line?
Well, there's cases and stuff like that from a VR perspective. So that's relatively linear in terms of straightforward. However, we currently use VR on our labels, so people can try the backpack on your back. So you use a code that's on a sticker, and you can actually, with that QR code, essentially put the backpack on someone's back, so you can visually see how it works. It allows you to visualize the bag or the case in space, so get a much better visualization of it, as opposed to just a 3D picture or a 360-degree picture. You can flip it over.
Okay.
And so we're implementing VR from a product merchandising marketing perspective quite heavily. So that's the primary. Those are sort of two avenues that we're using VR quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's definitely a big trend that I can see happening in e-commerce, where people want to kind of take advantage of this option to look at the product in 3D space and not just on a flat image, which can make a big difference. Yeah. So you are always at the cutting edge of whatever's happening.
Thank you.
And
we try.
I'm sure you have. You're not just trying. That's the thing. You're actually doing it. That's the big difference between you and so many other people who try. Yes. And so where do you see this going forward? Do you have a vision of STM in 10 years from now or 5 years from now?
Absolutely. So I think one of the big initiatives that we're doing at the moment is a shift to more environmentally friendly packaging and materials and stuff like that. That's something that is happening as we speak. So I view a shift in that direction for us. I mean, anywhere from recycled fabrics and materials to packaging that is using ink, plant-based ink, and all that. And all the different regulations, which is becoming ever more complex around the world to meet those requirements. The issue of bags and how bags are used, and the incorporation of advanced materials and stuff like that into the bags as well is something that's really interesting to us as well. And then you have all the power and adapters. I mean, we're carrying around more and more devices that are going to require more and more power. around the world more and more. So all that incorporation of MagSafe stuff and Qi 2 and all those type of things that are coming around. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I think so too. So there will be no shortage of new stuff coming out, which will need protection, which will need charging, which will need space in your bag and all that. So yeah, I mean, as you said, it's a fast changing technology or industry, but it also comes with some advantages, right? So there's always new things coming out, and there's always new opportunity for you to come up with new products.
New products, new uses, new protection, like you were talking about, Dano. So it's really exciting. It's neat because you never, I mean, it's constantly changing. And I think that one of the reasons that we've managed to do this for so long is our ability to make decisions and be nimble and make changes and continue to evolve, as opposed to continue to do one thing and that's it.
Yep. That sounds like a closing statement already from Mr. Ethan. But before we come to the end of this, I would still invite you to whatever you would like to share with our audience and with your audience. Your words of wisdom, your best advice received, or anything along that lines. I mean, what would you say to, what would you like to share as a closing statement?
I think the self-belief. I think that you have to believe in yourself and your capabilities, and
that's great.
Always revert back to that.
Believe in yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
Control what you can and leave the rest to whatever happens.
Exactly. Leave the rest to it's you can't do anything about it, so why worry?
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but
yeah,
that's the
exactly.
that's the concept.
That's the thing. Yep, that was amazing, Ethan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing all the what's happening in STM and where you're going. So yeah, I really love the brand, and I wish you all the best of success, which you don't really need, but still, I do.
I'll take it. I'll take all the wishes I can get. Absolutely.
All right, man.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dano. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.